Today's project is to replace the stock shock absorbers, and I'm going with a set of Bitubo. Wasn't a household name. I was steered to them by someone on HD forums, and the more I read about them, the more excited I was. So I ordered a set from DK Custom, which should be arriving imminently, and I've just got things prepped to remove the old shocks. So far, all I've done is take off the saddlebags and taken a 3/4 inch socket and just broken free the bolts on each side. Fortunately, there's enough space between the rail and the exhaust to be able to get in here on this one without anything fancy, just using a 1/2 inch drive. So the next step will be to jack the bike up just so the rear wheel is just off the ground, which should take the load off of the shocks, and then I can swap them. The stock shock absorbers are 12 inch, and so are the ones I ordered to replace them. I just find these really harsh. There is a preload adjuster on one side, and the other side does not have that. Kind of interesting, you know, you'd think you'd have that on both, but the way some have explained it is the other side is more like a slave shock, like this one does most of the work. I don't know if that's really the best way to describe it, but I have tried a number of different settings, and it's certainly better as I've adjusted it in different directions, but there is no real sweet spot for me. There's just a not so awful spot. But this is something that I don't want to live with over the life of the bike, so I decided to just go for it and upgrade the rear suspension. This is on the right side of the bike, and as mentioned, no adjuster over here. The Bitubos have arrived. Instructions, spanner wrench, warranty booklet. Second one of these I got this week. The shocks themselves. I believe this is the preload. Alright, there's also an adjustable collar up here. The back tire is just touching. So there is a set of collars, that's why this plastic thing is here, that are on each side, and that will be necessary. I'm going to install it so this little lever is facing out so it can be gotten to easily. So in the install video, they show just one small drop of red thread lock on the bolt. Like that. It's not very much, but that's what they're calling for. Pretty considerable difference in design. You can see how tight this spring up here is, even though it has some preload on it. Well, actually this one doesn't have any preload, the other one did, but quite a different design. The bike has been lowered off the lift. Will torque to 40 foot-pounds. So these are the stock shocks, which have now been removed from the bike. This is just a really bad system. It just doesn't work. I don't know how much money they save making them this way than just putting a couple of good quality shocks on the bike. But these things are just too stiff. Just too stiff. Now, by contrast, here is one of the Bitubos. This is on the right side of the bike. This is the spanner wrench they give you to turn the preload adjuster up here. It's easy to turn when you're loosening it, but if you're tightening it, it's going to require more effort. But you have a real nice design, and then down here you have the rebound dampening, which is set right in the middle on 3. And these babies are ready to go. They're good looking shocks, but they will of course be hidden by the saddlebags. I got to tell you guys, these Bitubo shocks, man, they have delivered in every way. You know, there's been times when I had such high expectations about something because of all the stuff I read, and then I ended up being disappointed, and I'm like, well, realistically, there's no way it really could have delivered on those expectations because they were just so high. That is not the case here. I am genuinely happy. I can't believe these are as good as they are. You know, the only time I replaced shocks on a bike was when I put progressive 412s on my Sportster, and those were night and day. Even though that's an entry-level shock, it was a great upgrade, and it made my Sportster rideable and enjoyable. And I did think at the time, like, I just don't know what better shocks would feel like. I mean, because these feel really good. Well, these are the better shocks. I mean, I did look at progressive 440s, but these Bitubos are a better shock because they have rebound dampening, and they were actually $50 less. And man, you know, I'm conscious I'm hitting bumps, but I'm not feeling any pain from those bumps. I used to get bounced off of the seat depending on what I was hitting. That hasn't happened at all. I mean, I feel myself moving very gently with the whole chassis, and very gradually and just very like as one together, and it's just not harsh at all like it used to be. Well, I've got about 70 miles on these shocks now, about 20 or so miles on the interstate, and the rest on these secondary roads. Secondary roads are pretty bad right now with all the frost heaves and things like that, and the highway is nothing to write home about either. But just all in all, wow, so much better ride, so much more confidence in riding. If you're looking for some rear suspension, definitely give these Bitubos a hard look. These came dialed in nicely from DK Custom. I played around with the preload a little bit just to see it. You know, they say one full turn is about the minimum before you'll notice a difference. So I think I ended up settling maybe one full turn a little more in the firm direction. But otherwise, I haven't touched the preload setting, not the preload, the rebound dampening at all. That's still on 3 out of 1 to 5, so I may play with that in the future. I feel a lot more confident, more planted, especially in curves when I hit bumps. When I think back to my first couple rides on this Street Glide compared to now, it's a world of difference between the new rear shocks, the Mustang seat, and some of the other improvements that I made. It really is coming along nicely. Well, that's it for this one, guys. Thanks for watching. Until next time.